Warning, the following podcast is brought to you by dads who can barely remember where they put their car keys. Welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast. My name is Ted Lowe. Today I'm joined by my buddy, Bobby Lewis.
What's going on, man?
How are you, man?
I'm good.
We're going to dive right in.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to really resonate with this topic.
Yeah.
Who's the tallest person that you have ever met?
So when I graduated college, my first job was as a sports reporter in Lafayette, Louisiana. So I was there covering the Ragin' Cajuns basketball team, University of Louisiana. And my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she came to visit me and she said, hey, I want to shadow you for the day. Let's go hang out. And so I took her to basketball practice and she embarrassed me thoroughly because she's like 5'4". She's not that tall. But she made me take a photo of her with a 6'10" basketball player because she freaked out that this was the tallest person she'd ever seen. And he was probably the tallest person I've ever seen too. But she thoroughly embarrassed me. She's like, please take my photo. And she left and went back home. And I had to be with these guys at practice the next couple of months. And they're laughing and jeering at me every time. Hey, you want to take a picture of me again? I'm like, no, but 6'10", that's pretty tall.
And how tall are you? Because you're the tallest person I've ever met.
Well, that's fun. I'm 6'3". So
6'3".
Yeah, I don't feel very tall because all those years of doing sports reporting and meeting all these different athletes, I just was the short guy in the room for a lot of years. But yeah, it depends on the setting, but I can be kind of tall. Yeah.
Is it fun to be tall? Because I'm average. Like
pants are hard to buy. Pants are hard to buy. Yeah, they just don't fit. They're like, high waters all the time. That's the hard part.
You want some trivia, Bobby?
Sure.
Because I brought this just for you.
All right.
Because I thought you'd love this. Did you know that the tallest living man is a Turkish man and he is 8'3"?
8'3".
So he could put you on his hip.
Okay.
And hold
If I stood flat-footed next to him and I reached as high as I could, I might be able to touch the top of his head. That's pretty tall.
Yeah, he wears a 22 shoe.
Golly. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So can you imagine looking up to this guy, right?
Yikes. Yeah.
And you're going, why are we bringing this up? Bobby, I started thinking about this watching, dads with their kids and just the power that they have. So I want you to imagine, listeners, if you have a 6th grade kid,
okay,
their round average is about 4'10". Okay. The average height for a man, it's my height, is 5'9". So if you're a dad of a 6th grader, that means you are 23% taller than your kid. And for a little bit of perspective, it would be like your boss being 7'4". Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
And if you have the average height 2-year-old, watch this, then it would be like your boss being 12'8".
Yikes. Yeah. I mean, it's intimidating sometimes when you stand around someone who's that much taller. Yeah, it can be a little scary.
When you think about the size of that, even if you've got kids that are, my kids are, 2 of them are taller than me, you are still in every way a giant to them, giant in terms of dependency.
Yeah.
Like they depend on us for everything. And then giants in the sense of control and giants for a lot of us in sense of size. Mm-hmm. So what do we do with that?
Yeah, it can be intimidating, I'm sure, for kids, and they wouldn't probably voice that to you. But that brings us to our question of the week: is how can we be an approachable father? We know we're bigger, but how can we be an approachable father? Big can be scary, and we should recognize that. But we need to work on that too, because just because we think our kids love us and we hope they love us and we know they do, we're still bigger, and so we need to think about this.
Right. So how do we do this? How do we leverage the fact that we're taller, bigger, more power than them? We've got to be calm, right? We got to be calm. We got to be affectionate. We got to be safe. Yeah. And we got to be strong. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, those are some good traits, and we're going to go through them one by one. What's the first one?
Be calm. Be calm. When we're not calm during a time, and we are big with our response, they don't look at their behavior at all. They're looking at our behavior. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at their own, they're looking at ours. And so they'll just focus on the reaction. And I think for kids, when we remain calm, especially bigger, more powerful, when we remain calm, then they're going to be able to hear us more and respond.
Well, I think about how when you're not calm, you tend to get loud. So if you combine big and loud,
that's a good point.
That can be scary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it teaches them a sense of security. We want to be safe, and it models regulation to them. Yeah. Like, what do you do when you get mad? You used a great example of that in the podcast about your son who's emotional. Said, "Dad, why are you so calm?"
Yeah,
it gives us a chance to model that. And one of the things I would say, if you've got smaller kids, is to get down on their level.
That's a good tip. Yeah,
just stoop down, get down on their level, look them in the eye. Eye contact's very soothing for a kid. If you have ADHD kids, or I'm ADHD, and so we don't ever make eye contact with each other, but we really give it a try. Yeah. But when we do make eye contact with them, it's very powerful. And one of the things that was modeled for us by our friends is, and we would watch them with their kids, where if they were doing something in public that was disrespectful, or they were doing something they shouldn't, I would watch them. Hey, buddy, come here just a minute. And they would pull them to the side, and then they would whisper in their ear. Saves their dignity. But even those kind of settings where you're whispering and you're thinking people are looking at it, want to embarrass them, was very soothing to them. And I thought, maybe we take that approach even when no one's watching. Yeah. Right. I'm just going to be really calm. So how do we leverage our size, the fact that we're bigger? Number 2 is be affectionate.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the wrestling, the snuggling, the hugging. My sons, again, who are
they're taller than
bigger
you,
than me.
Yeah.
Our whole family, we've got a little bit of weird language at our family, but I would always, when they were like, come here and give me a big hug. And so I got one son, and he is not affectionate. And they walk in the door and say, you know what time it is? It's time for a big hug. And one of them's like, oh, and they'll roll their eyes. But they will still wrestle with me, which wrestling with 2 young men in their 20s.
Are you losing? You losing now?
You'd be surprised how scrappy I am. You just got that thing in your gut going, you're not going to take your dad. And then last time I was like, you know what? If we do this much longer, I'm not going to be able to provide for them anymore, because they're going to snap something. Like, I'm going to snap something. So, but it's just that whole idea of being affectionate.
No, I love that. We've actually started something in our house that I really have leaned into pretty heavily. We've got 3 kids, and the 2 younger ones share a room. And so every night now, there's like this expectation from the 2 younger kids that they're going to get their 3 kisses on the forehead.
Love that.
And so I go in, and it's kind of weird because they're in bunk beds. So I have to like stretch up. I have to step on one bed to get up to the top to give the 3 kisses. But I do it every night, right on the forehead. And it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel seen. And it makes them know that like dad is here every night giving you a kiss on the forehead. And the night's not over until I do it. If I forget for some reason, or like I think they're like groggy, half asleep, and I just lay them down and I walk out, I'll get a yell down the hall, you didn't blast me, you didn't kiss my forehead. So I have to turn around and go back in and kiss them on the forehead. And it's a big deal because that affection, it builds bonds. Now my older daughter, she's 14 now, give or take, and she doesn't want that. But I don't give her the 3 kisses on the forehead, but I do give her like these super long hugs. Like, longer than you might expect. Like you go in for a hug with somebody, and it's like, oh, it's 2 seconds, right? Yeah. No, she's been holding them like 12 seconds lately. And in a little bit of a kind of a weird, awkward moment, I was like, okay, how long are we going to hold this? And then recently I started telling myself, as long as you want to.
That's because
I want this hug to last. So,
absolutely.
And you kind of push yourself past that awkward stage. Like, you know what? Fine. I'll hold this for 87 years if you want to, which is kind of cool. But affection, I mean, it's so important because it builds a bond. It builds a bond between you and your children, and it reminds them that they can always run to you because you're a safe place. So I love that. I was actually watching videos the other day. I know you're going to like this because you're a funny guy. You when you do your public speaking, you're always telling jokes. I was listening to a comedian, and he was delivering the lines in a funny way. The crowd was laughing. They were having a good time. But he was telling the story about how he was sitting in the car with his son. And his son said, hey, Dad, Grandpa gave me a hug. And the dad, who apparently didn't get hugs from his dad growing up, Grandpa, he's like, tell me how that feels, because I didn't get that.
I bet they're good hugs.
I never got a hug at all. And so he was kind of telling jokes and laughing. He's like, please, just, was it warm? Was it nice? Did your arms go all the way around? He was telling this funny joke and everyone's laughing. But I read the comments on the video and they were heartbreaking, because the comments from all the people in the crowd or just people watching the video were like, yeah, this hit really hard. Like, I cried watching this. You laughed, but I cried because I didn't get a hug from my dad either. And I just wanted a hug. And so I was fascinated with the comments more than the actual video. It's a human need, affection. And when your kids don't get it from you, they're going to go get it somewhere else. And you may not like where they get it.
It's very true.
Dads, we have to recognize that affection is a part of who we are as a dad. We have to give it to our kids. It provides more than just the kiss on the forehead. Yeah, that feels nice in the moment, but it provides so many more things. Our kids need to know that we love them, and affection is one way that we can show that.
Well, and dads of teenage daughters, we know that starts to feel awkward. And talk to.
Well, yeah, like the long hugs with my daughter. Yeah.
Well, you're trying to figure that out. And I talked to a dad who's daughter, he's kind of was like, I kind of stopped because I didn't want it to be inappropriate.
Sure.
And she was, it broke her heart. He later finds out that it's broke her heart. And so we have to figure all that out.
Yeah, and if you're in that situation, because I'm kind of living that right now, communicate, ask.
Yeah.
And it's not weird. Like your dad, like you should be a safe place for them to talk. And if say, hey, was that a good hug? That was a good hug. I like that hug. And if they say yes, great. If they say, nah, it's kind of weird. Okay, then I won't do it so long next time. They'll be receptive to that for sure.
It's good. It's good. So how else do we leverage our size and our strength of our kids? We got to be safe.
Oh, yeah.
Our kids need to know that when something happens, that they can come to us without fear of reaction.
Yeah.
And I know that is not the case for a lot of people to go, I talk to a lot of moms who will say, I try to, make the house safe or calm the kids down before they talk to mom because I don't want to have that response. We need to be the first person that our kids think of when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
That big guy is going to be safe.
My hope, and I'm not at this point in life yet. You're a little bit further along with your kids, are older than mine. But when my kids start driving, my first hope is if they get a flat tire, I'm the one they call. Because they know that dad will be there and dad will help you. And that's tied into safety. When they get into trouble, they feel like they're not comfortable. I want to be the phone call. I want them to come to me because they are safe when they're around me.
Right. I mean, I have so many flaws as a dad, but my kids know if something happens, they know to call me and not mom. I always feel like, my brain is always like looking for emergencies or whatever. So when they call with an emergency, I'm like, oh, my brain's already there. Like I can help you. I'm pretty good at emergencies. I've taught 3 of my 4 kids to drive.
Yeah.
And so far, I think they've given me 5 opportunities to be really calm when they've had accidents.
So you're like pushing that right foot through the floor on the passenger side, like, come on, stop, please.
Just go out. Yeah, and they're like, hey, Dad, we live in the Atlanta area, and there's been 3 total cars, I think.
I was going to say, at least you live where there's no cars in Atlanta.
Yeah. State Farm loves us.
Yes.
A whole lot.
State Farm loves you, but I can't imagine that phone call because my kids are younger. So like, what do you do as a dad to make your kids feel safe when there's been a fender bender, when there's been an accident? How did you handle that?
Well, for me, it's a lot about perspective. If my kid calls me and said, I've been in an accident and they can call me, great. I don't care about cars. And so my oldest one, who was, oh my goodness, what a terrible driver he was. But the state of Georgia said he wasn't. So I was like, first time dad. But he calls me and he's crying. About 3 weeks after he gets his driver's license. Oh, and he tells me, Dad, I've had an accident. And I said, where are you? And he tells me where he is. I said, are you okay? And he goes, I'm okay. Is anyone else hurt? No one else is hurt. And I don't know what I think I'm going to drive up to, but here's what I drove up to. He has gone through a horse pasture fence. It's sitting in the middle of this pasture. And there is a police car, an ambulance, and a fire truck. And there he is, taller than me, crying. And when your kids are older crying, they never change the way they cry. Their faces look the same. And he might as well have been 3 feet tall. And so I'll go over there and I just grab him because I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I said, listen, buddy, they make these every day. You're not going to get one, but they make them every day. No, it's just those.
You can replace a car.
Right. Oh, can you replace a car? Because I know other people have got way worse phone calls. And so they know if they call and go, let's walk it through. Let's breathe. And they know for whatever reason, Dad's going to be calmer here. But here's the thing. I can be calmer during those moments than the disrespectful moments or those emotional type of things. It's the thing I have to really work on being calm when they get hurt, things like that, things that were an accident. I do pretty well.
So I want to know, when you pull up to this accident and you see your son and he's crying, how quickly did the tears dry up just by you being close to him? Did it just change him immediately, just having you present?
Yeah. And I think as soon as he saw that my face was okay, then he became okay.
Yeah.
That he became okay.
So that's what we're talking about. You want to be an approachable dad. Safety is something that dads have to prioritize, and you have to provide that for your kids. He just being there next to him made him know, all right, Dad's here, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. The car's not good, I'm good. Dad's around. That's a big deal. Yeah, my daughter is younger, so she's not driving yet, or all my kids are under the age of driving. But my youngest, she grabs my hand in the parking lot, which is good because I don't want her running out into traffic. But she knows Big Dad's here, got my hand. He's going to block off all the cars. Everyone's going to see him. We're going to be safe. That's a special thing for me, just to be walking through parking lots and know that she feels safe because I've got my hand physically on her and we're good. I think that's a really cool. Really cool part of being a dad right now.
Right. Absolutely. And I noticed the difference between my girls and my sons in terms of what that safety would mean. Mm-hmm. I knew when my first daughter was born, she's about 2, I thought, oh, you're different. My boys, to hold them. And when they got older, they just started moving their legs like, let me down, let me down, let me down. And my daughter, I think I could still be holding her. She would be okay with it. Yeah. It's the physicalness too, of being big for dads and their kids. I mean, I think one of my first memories ever was my dad going to the pediatrician with me, which I'm going, wow, I don't ever remember that. It really happened. My mom would take us, but I hated shots. I hated it.
Yeah,
and even just getting the little finger prick or whatever. And supposedly the lady at the pediatrician my mom had informed my dad was a little bit more gruff than she needed to be. She was a little so my dad goes, I got this. And he carried me back there. And I sat in his lap when I got my finger pricked. And that made all the difference. And I remember his strength to this day. And so, Dad, your physicality, his affection and strength is just so huge.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that we can do with the fact that we're bigger, that we have so much power is just to be strong.
Strong, yeah.
Just to be strong. And I think that strength comes from all of that. And it comes from being calm. And so, and it's having this sense of, hey, my responses and my reactions are not going to dictate theirs. Right? They're going to feel safer when we're calm and when we're strong. Our daughter, our first one, she's such a worrier. She always has been. And when she was little, she said, well, what about this? What about this? And we'd say, sweetheart, you need to know that this is a big people problem. Yeah. You don't worry about this. This is a big people problem. We told her that through high school.
Yeah.
Like, no, this isn't yours to worry about. This is ours to worry about.
Yeah. I think there's this weird misconception when you hear the word strong, the first thing you think of is like physically strong. Like I got big muscles, biceps, I can bench press a car, right? I'm a big guy. I'm strong. Like there's so much more to strength as a dad than just muscles. To me, it's vulnerability and being able to get down and connect with your kids in the way they need you to connect. And I know that's the case in our house because, recently our dog died. We had a dog for like 15, 16 years, long time. And the little dog passed away and our 3 children dealt with it very differently. The 2 younger ones, they hit them hard. They were like, oh man, like I'm going to miss this dog. And all of the kids are of the age where they didn't live in a house without this dog. We got the dog before they were even born. So they don't know life without it. The 2 little kids were a mess. I mean, they were sobbing. What are we going to do? I can't believe that our doggy passed away, which like that it's a part of the family. My older daughter did not drop a single tear. And so interestingly enough, a week goes by and our youngest daughter, who's in kindergarten, she came up to me. I'm sitting there at the table, I'm doing work, and she just kind of rubbed up against my arm. And she said, I miss Willie. I was like, it's been a week. I haven't thought about the dog in days. Like we did a little ceremony. We dug a hole. We did the rock and the flowers, and then we did the little, backyard thing. And she was still thinking about it days later. And so the strong part of being a dad was put the computer down, get down, give you a hug, and just let her talk about it for a minute, let her get it out. And then she was fine. She went on her day. But my older daughter, in the moment when dog passed away and we're doing the thing in the ground, the other kids are crying. She walked over to me and she said, Dad, is it okay that I'm not sad? And I said, yeah, it's totally fine that you're not sad. You don't have to cry. You don't have to perform for us. She's like, I think it's better because he was old and sick. And I was like, oh yeah. And so in that moment, I was able to be vulnerable with the little kids who were crying. And then with the older daughter, I was able to confirm with her that you're okay. Like you don't have to perform for us. You don't have to be anything other than what you are. You have come to the conclusion in your mind that it's okay to not cry at this moment because you recognize this was better for your dog. And so that's the strength that dads can provide. You can mold
Emotional
to
strength.
what your kids need to be. And I think that's important. And how do we continue to be approachable as a dad? I think it's making sure that we're loving our kids the way they need to be loved. That's true strength. It's not just being super strong and lifting heavy things. For you, is this change you in any way? Just make you think about being more approachable, this conversation?
Absolutely. And I really feel like the being calm thing, being strong, because their emotions are all over the place. They're becoming humans.
Yeah.
It's their first time to be human.
Yeah. You're
It's
teaching
just
them how. Yeah.
calmness, strength, emotional strength, physical strength, all that is so important. Well, that will move into our pro move of the week. Dads, this week, look for an opportunity if you have younger kids to get down on their level, and if you have bigger kids, to remain calm and to be strong for them.
Awesome.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and thank you guys. Hey, could you send this podcast to the tallest friend that you have, and the shortest, and the average size? If you just pick 3 to send it to, this thing could sweep the nation.
Yeah.
I love this.
Find an 8'3" guy and send this to him. It'd be great.
Right there. They all live in Turkey.
They do.
Hey, you know what? We want to say thank you. Every week we want to say thank you for joining us. We know that you and your kids will be glad that you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing team. Producer Haley Mawat, audio and video editor Buck Buchanan, and production coordinator Corey Walliff. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. So remember, if you have more questions than answers, then you're probably in the right place. See you next time.